السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام. وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت. ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزلتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم. ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان. ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة. ولعن الله ابن مرجانة. ولعن الله عمرو بن سعد. ولعن الله شمرا. ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك. فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من آل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأوا إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم، برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم، فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم، أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثار مع إمام هدى طلب ثاركم مع إمام مهدي ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة مما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرضين. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين عليه السلام وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتك. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا، ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورد المورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الفاتحة يرحمكم الله. صل على محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، يا باب النجاة الأمة. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فلنفوز فوزا عظيما. اللهم صل على بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Tonight is night of Qasim, the night of the son of Imam Hassan, grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So Imam Hassan alayhi salam was foretold by his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi as Hassan and Hussein being the youth, the masters of the youth of paradise. One of their great attributes they were given by Rasulullah. Their father is Imam Ali alayhi salam, the one who is termed as the self of the Prophet, Nafs al-Rasul, we see in ayat of Mubahala. Their mother was Fatima Zahra, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, master of the women of the worlds. When we come to their lives, we gain many beneficial things. So many things, it's too extensive to cover in one night, in one small discussion, but inshallah we'll try to take a glance at the life of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam and extract some benefits for our lives. He was even able to help his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala, even though he wasn't alive. We will get to this point by the end, inshallah. Regarding one of the great inspirational aspects of the life of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is his worship, his ibadah. When it comes down to Hajj, Imam Hassan alayhi salam visited the house of Allah, the Kaaba, many times. Some narrations state he even went up to 20 times to Hajj. Not only did he complete this many Hajj, but he used to go walking barefoot towards Hajj. Subhanallah. Very difficult to walk barefoot. If some of you have been to Arba'in, my first Arba'in I went, one of the guys walked with me 80 kilometers barefoot on the ground. Very difficult. Imam Hassan alayhi salam said, I am ashamed of Allah that I would ride a horse in the Hajj, rather I would walk towards Mecca. So he traveled from Medina to Mecca on Hajj, for Hajj on foot 20 times, subhanallah, even though he had an animal he could have rode. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam quoted from his father, Imam Bakr, from his father, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. He said, Hassan ibn Ali was the best, most pious person during his time. In Hajj, he traveled on foot, sometimes barefoot. He cried when he remembered death. When he remembered the grave, the resurrection, the hereafter, the passing on the Sirat, on the bridge into paradise, he would cry, he would weep. When he remembered the deeds before Allah, he would cry, and sometimes he would faint. When he stood for prayer, his body shook from the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he remembered paradise and hellfire, he was agonized like a person that was bitten by a snake. He requested paradise from Allah and he sought refuge in Allah from the hellfire. We have to ask ourselves, do we put importance on going visiting the house of Allah, going to Hajj, going to Umrah? If not, then we should, because we see that the Imam placed a great importance on going to visit the house of Allah. And we should have this goal, even if we don't have the means, make the intention that I want to go visit the Kaaba. I don't know how I can go, but Ya Allah, help me to get there. Once in our life, at least, if we have the means to do it. When Imam Hassan alayhi salam reached the door of the masjid, he would raise his hands and he would say, Ya Allah, your guest has come to your door. Ya Rahman, O the gracious, your sinful servant has come to you. So forgive me for my wrongdoing because of your righteousness, O generous one, Ya Kareem. When the Imam would stand in salat, his body would shake. We have to ask ourselves, do we make salat like this, like Imam, or do we try to rush and get through it, try to check it off of a checklist of things we have to do? Like, okay, I need to make salat, check, I'm done, I finished it. Or do we go to salat like the Imam, remembering Allah, thinking about what we're doing? We are present in the action, or is our mind somewhere else when we are making salat? We should take the example of Imam, come to salat with a present heart. When he remembered hellfire, he would be agonized like a person that was bitten by a snake. Yet most of humanity, they don't even give a second thought about hellfire, the thing that awaits those when they disobey Allah. They don't even think about it. If we keep the hereafter in front of our eyes like we can see it, then we would live in a way that we would be very cautious of how we interact with others, what we do, all of our actions. We would act with a purpose to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain Allah's pleasure, and we would refrain from those things that would affect our afterlife, our akhirah. When we look at the Imam, how he looked at life, he always saw the hereafter as his goal. He remembered it all the time. We have to ask ourselves, how often do we think about akhirah? How often do we think about the next life? Most of the time we're so busy with all the things that are going on around us. We get distracted. We forget our purpose in our life. We don't recognize where we are all headed towards, even though there's so many signs. For example, we see the trees every season. Allah sent us these trees. They die, all the leaves fall, and then they come back. We have relatives pass away. We have friends pass away. All of these things, yet we don't think that one day it will be us. We prepare for many things in our life. We prepare for exams for school. For example, we study all night, writing, doing these things, but we don't prepare for the ultimate test, is how we live this life. How will we go when we die? We want to have a good ending. When the Imam would think about this akhirah, the day of resurrection, for example, he would cry. We have to ask ourselves, do we think about what we do? Do we take account of our own sins? We should cry when we think about these things. We see, dhalamtu nafsi in Dua Kumail. Verily, I have wronged myself. Do we think about these things? If we don't, then we have to start thinking about them. We should take account of ourselves every day. When we lay down at night, think about what we did. Did we do better today than yesterday, or did we make some mistakes and we need to do better the following day? We have to keep this in mind to protect ourselves, protect our soul from the next day, the final day, which will be difficult. About the generosity of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, it said that one day he passed by a young African servant, and there was a loaf of bread with this African boy, and he would take some of the bread and he would eat it, and he would rip some of the bread and give it to the dog that was there next to him. So the Imam said, what made you do that? What made, maybe you were hungry. You wanted to eat all the bread for yourself. Why did you take the bread and you share the bread with the dog? He said, I feel ashamed if I eat the bread and I don't feed the animal. He's looking at me while I'm eating. He is hungry. I feel ashamed, so I take some of the bread. I also give it to the dog. So the Imam came to know that he had the most lovable quality that the Imam loved was generosity. So he decided to reward his kindness toward the animal with kindness. Imam Hassan said to the servant, don't go anywhere. Just stay right here. And he went to his master. He paid the price. He freed him. The garden that he used to work in, or the farm, he bought that and made him the owner of that farm. This is the generosity of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, the family of Rasulullah. They were a refuge for the poor, the deprived, the widows, the orphans. Imam Hassan was like that, just like his father, Imam Ali alayhi salam, was. When it comes to charity, it's narrated that Imam Hassan alayhi salam gave away his entire wealth 3 times in his life to the poor. And he knew that wealth was a trust given by Allah. And he wanted to discharge that trust in the best way, which is helping other people, attending to the needy, helping those other people that need our help. Do we find ourselves clinging on to our money? Are we afraid that we will lose it? Or do we spend in the way of Allah? We have to know that if we spend in the way of Allah, Allah will return it many times over. He says in Quran, indeed, the men who practice charity and the women who practice charity, they who have loaned Allah a good loan, it will be multiplied for them and they will have a noble reward. We should spend and meet the needs of those who need our help. We should spend in order to provide like the things we need for our place of worship, for Husayniyah, for example. If our Husayniyah needs something, then we come and we say, I want to help. I have some extra money. I want to spend it in the way of Allah. I'm sure you need something. We all have to pitch in to whatever our capacity is. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When we remember Imam Hassan alayhi salam, we remember the bravery of Imam Hassan. The enemies of his time and the enemies of his until today, they say, na'udhu billah, that Imam Hassan lacked the courage to confront Muawiyah. Na'udhu billah. Then because of that, he did a peace treaty. But this is not the case. When you research the topic, the opposite is true. The Imam was very brave. Imam was very courageous. When you look at his participation in the battles, the Battle of Jamal, for example, we see his bravery. This camel was the rallying point for the enemies. So Imam Ali ordered that this camel be taken down, and then all the enemies will run away after they get their rallying point eliminated. So he first asked his other son, Muhammad al-Hanafiya, to do the job. But he tried, he failed. So Imam Hassan took the spear from his brother, said, don't worry, I will finish this job. He went out into the battlefield, brought down that camel with his spear, and accomplished what Muhammad al-Hanafiya couldn't do. His brother, they are brothers, he's sad. Muhammad is sad, so I wanted to do it, but I couldn't. So he became sad at that. And Imam Ali alayhi salam told him, don't worry, don't be sad, because there is a difference between you and Hassan. He said, yes, you are my son, but it doesn't mean you inherited my bravery. He said, whereas Hassan is my son and also son of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he inherited my qualities and his qualities. There's a difference. When it comes to sayings of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, we could be here for a long time with the wisdom of Imam Hassan. I'll bring one of his narrations. He said, stupidity is following the lowly people and keeping company of those misguided by deception. We see that Imam Hassan alayhi salam has warned us against following just anybody. Today, everyone just follows anyone. They go and look at a TikTok, someone make a silly video, or someone make misguiding videos, Instagram, these other things. They just follow them and keep up with them. But Imam Hassan has warned us to be careful of who we follow, who we lend our ears to, who we listen to. He's warned us of keeping guidance, keeping company with misguided people. Many people in this life are deceived. They don't see things clearly. They don't see things for the reality that they are. Seeing things clearly requires knowledge, requires study. The more one acquires knowledge, the clearer the things will be to him. He sees the realities of sin, for example, and then he will avoid those sins. He sees the benefits in doing good deeds, and then he will perform those good deeds. He will see the deception and the harm from others, he will stay away from it. Unfortunately, many people are blinded by deception and temptations. They sell out their religion, they sell out their own soul just for some material gains. And they sell their hereafter for whatever it is they wanted. This happened in the time of Imam Hassan alayhi salam when he went to war with Muawiyah. Muawiyah would bribe the generals of Imam Hassan. He would, whatever their weakness was, they find the weakness that you have, and he said, I'm going to exploit that weakness. That's why we have to build ourselves up. We need to identify our own weaknesses. And when whatever area we are weak in, we need to strengthen that area, because that's the area they go after. So Muawiyah would go after the generals. What are they weak for? Some wanted power, so he would give them position of power. Some wanted land, so he would give them land. Some wanted money, some wanted other things, this world. He would happily give them to them in order for them to sell out their imam. So we have to strengthen our faith in order to resist these things when they come at us. Someone may come to you and offer you all the things that you've ever wanted in life just to sell out your imam. You have to be strong and not fall victim like these generals did. There's a very good dua. It says, Allahumma ukhrij hubb ad-dunya min qalbi. Say, oh Allah, please remove the love of this world from my heart. Take it away from my heart. It's very good dua. It's very short and very good to say. The Muslims, they should be united. We have to come together. But today we have seen many have turned their back on their fellow Muslims. They sold out their brothers for what? For money, for business deals, for access to technology. Many of them even made alliances with those who want to harm their own fellow Muslim brothers. We see this happening today, unfortunately. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When it comes to the peace treaty of Imam Hassan alayhi salam with Muawiyah, we see that one point we need to take is that the imams are all from one light, Nur Wahid, they're one light. If Imam Hussein alayhi salam was in the position that Imam Hassan was in that time, he would have done what Imam Hassan did. If Imam Hassan was in the position that Imam Hussein was in, he would have done the same thing that Imam Hussein would have done. So during the reign of Muawiyah, Imam Hassan was preparing to fight Muawiyah. Muawiyah, I said, was buying the faith from all of these people with bribes, money, land, position. But just as Imam Ali alayhi salam, he also rose up to fight the oppressors, but he didn't meet the condition that the Prophet set for that he needed to have 40 supporters. If he didn't, then he needed to give up the fight and retreat. Imam Ali alayhi salam after that led a life of solitude. Imam Hassan alayhi salam also didn't have the means to fight Muawiyah. All of his generals were being bought out. So instead he made that peace treaty which actually saved the lives of so many followers of Ahlul Bayt. And it also exposed the evil intentions that Muawiyah had, because Muawiyah broke every single condition in that treaty. I'll mention just a few of them. The first one is Muawiyah would rule only on the condition that he acted according to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet. However, after a few days, Muawiyah broke this treaty. He said before the Muslims, truly all the things that I have given to Hassan ibn Ali are under these 2 feet of mine. He didn't care anything about it. He said, I won't fulfill them. One of the companions said Muawiyah did not feel any of the things he had given to Hassan. He killed Hujr ibn Adi, one of the famous companions of Rasulullah, and his companions. He pledged his allegiance to his son, and he poisoned Imam Hassan. He broke all of the conditions. Second condition was that Muawiyah had no right to appoint a successor after himself. The leadership would go back to Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Some say if Imam Hassan alayhi salam also was not there, then the leadership would go to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We see that he violated this by appointing his son Yazid to be the next caliph. Third thing, that the lives, the property, the honor of the general public would be protected, whether they were from Syria or Iraq or Hijaz or anywhere else. But Muawiyah spread terror and fear throughout the Muslim world. He ordered his governors to punish anyone who opposed them severely, deprive them of their rights, spread violence through the whole region. Fourth thing, Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam and their families would be protected, their honor, their property, their lives. But Muawiyah made it one of his goals to terrorize the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. It says that many were killed, many were imprisoned, many were exiled, many were mutilated, and they had their names removed from the government stipend, so they didn't get money anymore. Their houses were demolished. It was a very difficult time. The famous example is Hujr ibn Adi, the companion of Rasulullah. He was well known. They say he used to pray like 1,000 rakat a day. People knew him by his piety, but he killed him anyway. Even some of the companions that were opposed to Ahlul Bayt came out and said things about this companion. Fifth thing is Muawiyah would stop cursing Imam Ali alayhi salam. But Muawiyah openly cursed Amir al-Mu'mineen. He commanded other people to curse him. He ordered his governors to curse him. He made it common in Jum'ah that they would curse Imam Ali alayhi salam from the mimbar. They would curse him on every Jum'ah in Eid prayer, all of the time, and this lasted for 80 years, cursing Imam Ali. So he violated this also. The last one is that the financial terms that Muawiyah would hand over Bayt al-Mal, the treasury. He would give it back to Imam Hassan alayhi salam so that he could spend it in the correct way. But he didn't do that. He kept all this money for himself, and he prevented Imam Hassan alayhi salam from getting that money. One of the famous Sunni scholars, Ibn Athir, he said this all happened on Muawiyah's order that Imam Hassan's position would not be strong. So he made a treaty, but he broke every single condition. And this treaty of Imam Hassan exposed that. It showed Muawiyah what he really was to the people. All the way to today, we still see this. There's a lot to discuss regarding this topic, but we can gain from this is that even though many people came and criticized Imam Hassan alayhi salam for accepting this peace treaty, he went through with the divine command and he fulfilled this treaty. The people also criticized Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he made the peace treaty with the idol worshippers in Hudaybiyah. They came against him. Many will come and criticize us also. They will criticize what we believe in. They will criticize what we do, what we say. But we have to trust in Allah and continue on the path of truth, even when that path is very difficult. People will criticize us for not following the majority, for example, or they will criticize us for following the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Yet it doesn't matter the slightest. If we have certainty that the truth is on our side and we are doing the right thing, it doesn't matter. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Ammar ibn Yasir, if all the people go in this valley, Imam Ali goes in the other valley, go with Imam Ali. The numbers don't matter. But do we have the resolve and the courage of Imam Hassan alayhi salam to follow what is right, even if the whole world comes and criticizes us? That's how we have to build ourselves up. We have to think, even if I was the only follower of Ahlul Bayt in my city, it doesn't matter. I would still follow them anyway. We have to be firm on our beliefs. The path of the Imams was always a lonely path. Imam Hassan was surrounded by people, but they weren't loyal to him. They abandoned him. They betrayed him. They left him alone long before that poison even came to him. And this was the story of the Imams. Imam Ali alayhi salam would give salam to people, yet no one would give their salam back. He was so lonely with grief that sometimes they say he would go complain and talk to the well, give his problems to the earth. Imam Hussein alayhi salam stood up and called out for help but people abandoned Imam Hussein. Only a few people answered his call. The later Imams lived under isolation, far away. Some of them were imprisoned for a long time. They were exiled. Everyone claimed to love the Imam when he is honored. But the real test is who will stay with the Imam when he is alone. This is the test. When it comes to brotherhood in Islam, we get good examples from the life of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They shared many nice moments in the history together that we can gain benefit from. They grew up in the house of Rasulullah, the house of Imam Ali, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. They were present when the Ayatul Tathir, the verse of purification, came. The event of Mubahala came. They were there. They would advise people together, even when they were youths. One time an elderly man came and he was doing his wudu, but he wasn't doing it right. So Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhim salam, they watched him, but they knew that he's not doing it right. But they wanted to tell him, but how can the young child is telling the older man, you're doing something wrong? It's not nice, So they called the older man and they said, perhaps you can judge which one of us is doing the wudu the best. Imam Hassan said, my wudu is better than yours. Imam Hussein said, no, my wudu is better than yours. He said, can you come and judge us, just watch us. So the old man, he sits there, he's watching them do the wudu, and then he realizes, it's my wudu that's wrong. You guys are doing it the correct way. And he told them that, and he told them that, I really appreciate that you advised me in this way. So we see that Allah tells us to do this. Do everything in a wise way. He says, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom, with hikmah, with kind advice, and debate with people in the best way, ahsan, the best way you can. So we need to advise other people gently, in a nice manner, wishing for their guidance. Not like most people do when they want to advise somebody. They yell at them and they put them down and you're doing it wrong and you got to do it this way and you're wasting your time. They yell at them, make them feel bad, make them feel ashamed. We have to advise in the best way that we can, not to humiliate the person when they make a mistake. We shouldn't try to make ourselves seem better than the other people. When we look at Prophet Musa and Harun, when they were sent to Fir'aun, when they were sent to the Pharaoh, the worst person of the time, the atheist, when they went to admonish him, look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them to talk with Fir'aun. He says, فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنَّ لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Both of you speak with him in a gentle way, perhaps that he comes to himself, he has fear of Allah. He didn't tell them to speak. If Allah tells them to speak to Fir'aun with a gentle tone, the worst tyrant that we can think of, how about our brothers and sisters in faith? We have to speak to them even more gentle than that. Imam Hassan alayhi salam said, brotherhood is loyalty in hardship and in comfort. They were together in the good times and also through times of war. When Imam Hassan alayhi salam was martyred by that poison of Muawiyah, he said to his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he said, La yawma ka yawmaka ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day, ya Aba Abdullah, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hassan had many children. They were there and present in Karbala. Qasim ibn al-Hassan was one of them. He was around 14 years old during the Battle of Karbala. There were also two other sons of Imam Hassan that were younger than Qasim. They were also there. They died in the path of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The Iranian community comes together on the 5th of Muharram and remembers one of them, Abdullah ibn Hassan. He rushed out to defend Imam Hussein in the last moments, and he stood and he held his arm over his uncle so the sword wouldn't hit Imam Hussein, and he was killed defending his uncle. Imam Hassan alayhi salam had 3 sons, all slaughtered in the path of Imam Hussein. Imam Hassan was still able to support his brother even after his death through this means of giving his sons in the service of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. On a night like tonight, we want to remember a youth from children of Ahlul Bayt, Qasim ibn al-Hassan. So important that we remember him even till today. Imam Hassan, we said, was the generous one who gave all of his wealth in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qasim, following in the footsteps of his father, gave everything he had for Imam Hussein. He even sacrificed his life for Abu Abdullah. Now came the time for Qasim to go ask his uncle for permission to go die in the battlefield. Qasim kept asking Imam Hussein alayhi salam to go and fight. He wanted to follow in the footsteps of Ali Akbar. But Imam Hussein said, "How can I permit you to go when I'm certain that death awaits anyone who goes into that battlefield? Your father entrusted me to your care on his deathbed. My heart trembles at the thought of sending you out into the battlefield to face death." This reply broke the heart of Qasim. He thought his uncle wouldn't let him go out and join the other martyrs. With tears in his eyes, he's standing there not knowing what to do to get Imam Hussein's permission. When Qasim saw that Aoun and Muhammad were given permission to fight because their mother's request, he rushed to the tent of his mother. He told Farwa, "Aoun and Muhammad got permission to go fight from the Imam because of the intercession of their mother, but I have no one to plead on my behalf." He said, "If I'm not destined to be a martyr today, then life has nothing left for me, no charm left for me. What am I destined to be, a captive, rushed through the streets as a prisoner?" Upon seeing Qasim like this, Farwa started crying. She began to think of what she could do to get the permission of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Her first reaction, maybe I should go and beg Imam Hussein to allow him to go. However, she remembered her husband, Imam Hassan alayhi salam. He gave some words before his death. He told her there might come a time that Qasim would find himself very sad, in despair. He told her that when this happened, you should give him this envelope. I have something for him. She had preserved this letter all the way to that time, and she had it with her in Karbala. She brought this box, she opened it and gave the letter to Qasim. She said, "Qasim, your dilemma that you are in now reminds me of what your father's words that a day like this would come. I should give this letter to you." Qasim took this envelope from his mother's hand, opened the envelope, found two letters, one addressed to him, one addressed to his uncle Imam Hussein. He opened the letter that he had for himself. It said, "My child, when this letter reaches you, I won't be here anymore. When you read it, you will find yourself torn between a conflict wanting to help your uncle do your duty and his love and affection for you holding you back. My Qasim, I have provided a letter for my brother Hussein. Give this letter to Hussein so that he will grant you permission to go and fulfill your heart's desire." There's much that I could say on this occasion, but when you read this, you'll find that the time separating both of us is very short. I'm waiting for you. Farwa said, "My dear Qasim, your father even came to your aid after his death. Take that letter to Imam Hussein. He won't be able to refuse you now." Qasim could hardly contain himself. He had this letter. This is his chance to go. He rushed toward the tent of Imam Hussein with the letter in his hand. Yazid's army started beating the drums as they normally do. After the killing of Aoun and Muhammad, they are challenging more people to come out into the battlefield. Now Qasim came to Imam Hussein, who was standing near Sayyidah Zainab. Qasim couldn't muster the strength to say anything, so he just handed the letter over to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein looked at the handwriting and noticed that it was his brother, Imam Hassan. With surprise, he opened this letter and he read it. He started crying. It said, "My beloved Hussein, when this letter is read by you, you will be surrounded by sorrow on all sides. with dead bodies of your near ones scattered around you. I won't be there to lay my life down for you, Hussein, but I'm leaving behind Qasim in my place. Hussein, I ask that you do not reject my offering. In the name of the love that you have for me, I beg you to let Qasim go and die in your defense. Brother in spirit, I am with you, watching your sacrifices, sharing in your trials, sharing in your afflictions. Imam Hussein turned towards Qasim. He said, my dear child, I regard your father's wishes as commands from me. I have no choice left but to accept. Go, Qasim, do as your father wanted. If I have to bear the wound of your martyrdom, I will bow to the will of Allah. Qasim hurried toward his mother, Farwa. She's sitting dazed in grief over the martyrdom of Aun and Muhammad. Now it came time for her to say her final goodbye to her son. Ya Farwa, how hard this must be. Imagine saying goodbye to your child for the last time. They're hugging each other. The mother is looking at the son. She wants to see her. This is the last time she will see her son. The image of her son's face is coming into her mind for the last time to hold this forever. She held him tightly in her arms, looking at his face, wanting this image to sink in her mind forever. All partings are difficult, but what about the one that is forever? They went over to Zainab's tent to say farewell to Sayyidah Zainab. She hadn't completely recovered from her swoon. She thought for a moment Imam Hassan alayhi salam came down from the heavens to defend Abu Abdullah. Then she realized that it was Qasim coming to pay the last respects. One hand on her head and the other on her heart, she came forward to bear farewell to Qasim. She said, Qasim, my dear child, your aged aunt had hoped that you would carry my casket in my funeral, but it's written in Zainab's fate that she will see all of the young lives distinguished before me. It's my fate to see all of you dead before me and to carry your memories for the rest of my days. Qasim came to Imam Hussein and kissed the hands of Abu Abdullah. Seeing Qasim looking like his brother Imam Hassan, he began to cry. He kissed Qasim on the cheeks. He held the horse for Qasim to mount. Abbas came to do this for Imam Hussein, but Imam Hussein wouldn't let him do it. He said, this is the last time I will send off my Qasim. He turned towards Qasim. He said, Qasim, don't worry. It won't be long before you join me. Qasim set out without armor, without a helmet, without even a shield. All he had was a sword, a young 14-year-old boy. He went into the battlefield. He bravely killed many soldiers. Then the strap on his sandal broke. He bent down to fix it so he wouldn't trip. When the enemy struck him on the head with a sword, the sword cut so deep into the head of Qasim, he fell and gave a cry for his uncle, Ya Abu Abdullah. Hussein heard the cry of Qasim. He felt like he received all the wounds from Qasim. He took out his sword and he ran into the battlefield like a lion. With his sword in his hand, he cut through the enemy lines. Yazid's soldiers began to run away, and the body of Qasim was trampled under the feet of the enemy's horses. When the battlefield was cleared and Hussein reached the body of Qasim, he found that it was torn in pieces. What feelings this must have had on the heart of the Imam. Ya Allah, what have they done to my Qasim? On reaching the camp, Imam Hussein put the body on the ground. He called Abbas. He asked him to bring Farwa, to bring Sayyidah Zainab, to bring Kulthum. He asked Fidda, the maidservant of Zahra, to console Farwa, to console Zainab. He knew if they saw the condition of the body of Qasim, it gave them a shock that might kill them. Farwa came with Zainab on one side, Kulthum on the other side. Fidda came to the lady. She said, I beg you in the name of my lady Zahra, gather all the strength and courage you can see to see the body of Qasim. He may be torn to pieces, but remember his soul is with Al-Zahra, with Al-Hassan. They welcomed him with open arms. Saying this, she opened the robe and unfolded the body of Qasim. Zainab held her heart, Kulthum held her head, Farwa fell to the ground. The land of Karbala was echoing with the cries of the ladies, wailing on the martyrdom of Qasim. Wa wayla wa musibata. Inna lillahi wa inna alayhi raji'un. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين يا حسين.
صلى على محمد وعلى محمد. Before we start the Arabic lecture, a friend of ours is here. He's a minister. He is Brother Timothy Paulson. He is a minister who has been instrumental in helping our refugees, our Iraqi refugees, our Afghani refugees. And we have been working together for a couple of years trying to get families out of Afghanistan, if we can, to bring him here. He's I don't know how to put it in words what he does for our community from behind, and none of us know him, well, except for me. And none of us know how involved he is and how helpful he is to our community, to our Muslim community. He's here today to speak to you about getting some financial help for children, orphans in Gaza. He's got connection to get the money there and take care of them. He's going to take a few minutes with some pictures to show you how we can help. Brother, why don't you go over there?
Assalamu alaikum. First, I just want to say, may Allah give you strength and steadfastness during this month of remembrance. I know it's a holy month for your community, so just may God bless you. And secondly, I want to say thank you for allowing me to speak. I think there will be some PowerPoint with some pictures coming up, but for about 3 years, myself and a group of Christians and Muslims have been sending support to widows and orphans and families in Gaza. So most of these have lost their homes. All of them have lost loved ones. Actually, it reminds me of the story we just heard, which is just the tragic nature of loss of people dying who are innocent. And so here, this is, I think this is the middle of the presentation. Sorry. There's two groups in Gaza that we're currently supporting. One of them is, on the right here is Samar, and on the left, the woman is Ghadir. And so Samar is just south of Gaza City, and she's caring for 11 orphans who are war orphans. Their parents were killed by Israel in bombings recently. And there's another few widows and children that she's helping care for. Ghadir is north of Gaza City, up near the border, and her family owns a farm, and they're providing for a lot of people there. So we can go to the next slide. So I thought I'd talk about Samar a little bit first. So she and her daughter, Aya, she's like in her teens, they've been caring for these orphans. Oh, there we go. So here they are. These are all 11 of the orphans. And, they have signs, and basically they're kind of trying to let the world know. Like, we just want life, we want peace. And so we've been able to send, we send the funds directly to Samar, and she's able to purchase food, clothing, medicine. Right now there's kind of diseases going through Gaza because of the sanitation and the lack of clean water and that kind of thing. We can go to the next one. So here's just a few of the kids. Here's some food that she's purchased for them. This is them, I think, during Eid, kind of celebrating outside. These are just some of the precious children. We can go to the next. Thanks. Thanks to some funds that we raised, we're actually able to buy them solar panels. So they could have clean water pumped in, electricity, that kind of thing. And so they're currently using those. We can do next. And then one of the other factors is that there's no schools because all of them have been bombed by Israel. And so the children were being homeschooled by the ladies, but now actually there's some small schools popping up, private schools that charge tuition for supplies and stuff. And so that's part of what we're raising, is so that they can go get an education in a classroom with teachers and with their peers and just really have a full educational experience. One other thing, too, is that this was the apartment where they were living, and it was bombed by Israel. Thankfully, the group had fled south. They were evacuated. But when they came back, it was all in rubble. And so thanks to funds being raised, they were able to repair it. So that's great. So the next one you can see, this is kind of the monthly need just for Samar's group, is about $2,000 per month. And that's because the food has just been exorbitantly raised in price because of the scarcity since Israel is not allowing food in. Thank you. Good. All right, so the other is Gadir. This is her brother Yusuf, who started an organization. Using his farm, he was basically feeding the whole community. Just an amazing guy. Unfortunately, Israel targeted him and murdered him and some of his volunteers on a day that they were distributing food, really clearly targeting him because of what he was doing. And so Gadir and her family are carrying on the kind of cause that Yusuf started. Gadir is also a teacher, and so everywhere she goes, she had a school on the farm that got bombed, and so then she's putting up tents and teaching the children. She's determined that the children should continue to learn, and so we're giving money for supplies for the school. They're distributing flour and that kind of thing. And then recently, actually, another project that they did, you can actually follow them on Instagram. It's Ardunia team. And so they're constructing desks for the school so the children don't have to sit on the floor. And then just a little video, I think if you click again. This is from their Ardunia team. Oh, or maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, you might have to click it, sorry. If it doesn't work, that's okay. But basically, it's showing that they're cultivating the land so that they can teach children to farm and so that the people can sustain themselves. Yeah, that's okay. And then the final, if we go to the final slide, it should have some ways to give. Or the last, oh, there you go. Oh, it cannot play. That's okay. I probably saved it wrong. And then you can see Gadir's need is about 2,400. It's on the bottom, but that's okay. 2,400 a month. So the final slide has some QR codes. This is the tax deductible nonprofit that we have set up. So everything that goes through there is accounted for and receipted and that kind of stuff. If people want to give privately to avoid all the transaction fees, there's either Zelle or PayPal. But every dollar that isn't, taken out for percentages or transactions, every dollar goes to these women. So yeah, thank you for anyone who can contribute to that. I think we're on the same page. In the Injil, it says that there you go. True religion is caring for orphans and widows in need, and it's also keeping yourself free from the corruption of the world. So thank you guys, appreciate it, and I won't take any more time. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your message.
Thank you. Thank you. صلى على محمد وعلى محمد. So if you're interested to help, you can give it to me, you can give it to Sayyid Kazim, you can give it to Adam, and we will make sure it gets to him. And the most important message here was, I was approached just a couple of days ago to help another group for Gaza. And then once I looked into it, about 78%, 78 cents of a dollar was used for administrative services. So they pay their bosses, then their employees, and about 12 cents goes to Gaza. This one, 100% goes to Gaza. Every cent that's being collected is for Gaza. There is no administrative fee. Nobody is collecting any money. So anyhow, if you can help, please do. Thank you.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. أعوذ